Previously on the Magia Records, Album 2, Saint Syk had finally made it to the halfway point of Magia Record Season 1. And in this track, he crashed out for about 20 minutes about how Kyoko was so poorly written. Other notable events within this episode: Mafuyu! Yes, she became the leader of the Magias. And apart from that, Felicia got more good character development. So, after all of the Yachio glaze, Saint decided the only logical way to commemorate reaching this halfway point was to then tier list and sort of rank the characters so far. To give my final thoughts on this episode, I think in no better way, I'm just gonna tell you how I feel so far about the characters that were featured in this episode. So far, I think that Not Madoka is sort of the middle ground of how I feel about the writing in Magia Record. I mean, so far, she is completely two-dimensional. She really doesn't have anything that's defining her because she doesn't actually have any hard experiences that she remembers or that actually affect her or impact her. All we really have is that she's just shy, and that's about it. We never really get any actual meaningful dialogue from Not Madoka because it honestly kind of feels like most episodes center around somebody they introduced that is just joining her. In the first episode, she doesn't really get as much emphasis as I feel like she should. And then it only continues onward. There's like the Surano episode, the Felicia episode, and now this episode, which is like still the Felicia episode, the Mafuyu episode with Nanami, right? I feel like episodes are more revolving around the characters that Not Madoka is interacting with rather than her herself, which you might think is a criticism, but it actually kind of isn't, because this is almost how actual Madoka is sort of in Madoka Magica. TLDR, I'm gonna let her character cook. I'm gonna wait, hungry and ready, and I'll be excited for that.
Owie! Well, this sucks. Are all three of us goners then?
Next, I have to talk about Surano. I kind of, hate on her a little bit, but honestly, I kind of like Surano at times. I think she's silly, and she's funny, and she plays to the more humorous sides of Madoka Magica, because, that's sweet. But I feel like she's really, really out of place in most occasions, because we never really had a comic relief character in Madoka Magica. Madoka and Sayaka were fine, happy, bubbly girls. Sayaka was, quite a jokester even at the start, but that greatly changed because, they were aware of their situation. Whereas Surano sort of lives in her own land, her own bubble. It's kind of funny. It gives me something to talk about. I don't really dislike her that much, but all I will say is if Surano never, gets, a backstory or, touched upon again, woof. Next up, I would have to talk about Felicia. I adore Felicia. I think she's great. I feel like all of her, the two episodes that she's mostly been centered around, that being 6 and this one, anytime she was, the point of it was great. She has a lot of symbolism. They like to kind of play around with how to represent her emotions and situations and feelings, and she's a very human character. At first, I thought she was going to be more trope-like, I thought she was going to be just a tsundere. I thought she was just going to be sort of Kyoko too. But she's very, very different, and the more Kyoko is beside her, the more you can separate the two of them, because they are very different. And I really like Felicia a lot. I think she's great. I think she has very justified emotions, very reasonable crash outs when they do happen. So I think Felicia is, phenomenal.
We'll talk later. Seems you have another client. Everyone come back. We're having a retrial.
Kyoko. I'm gonna keep this very brief. We know who Kyoko is. We know who she is. We've all watched Madoka Magica, so I don't need to talk a lot about this. But so far, I literally do not understand her role at all. Like, her introduction was great, but for her to be introduced last episode just so that she could do this in this episode, it almost makes me look back at her introduction and want to be more nitpicky about it. I liked her introduction and thought it was great, but now I almost feel like I want to criticize it because of how bad this was. But I'm not going to. So, this was awful for a plethora of reasons. I think I've explained already thoroughly why. I'm not going to go that more into it because I think I did sort of say my piece there. They're trying to introduce her so quickly, and I don't know why, and I feel like they literally just copied the church scene because it was such a beautiful and effective way of portraying who she was, that they just copied basically what she said there and just threw it here, and it's so out of place because everything she does in this episode contradicts who she is, those beliefs that you got her to say. But whatever. I actually literally, I'm being so honest here, if you took Kyoko completely out of this episode, nothing changes. Nothing. She impacts absolutely nothing. Felicia was already talking about grief seeds and the fact that she's a mercenary, so of course that those two linear girls were going to bring up the grief seed thing. Anyway, we could have just gotten literally anyone else, you know, Felicia, Nanami, Sorano, to hit that door open for not Madoka. Anybody could have done that. We didn't need Kyoko for that. Kyoko does literally nothing. Even when she's giving her advice to Felicia, Felicia's not listening! She's deep in like this blind, red-seeing rage. And those words were lost on her, man. They fall on deaf ears, and hell, I wish they fell on my deaf ear. I wish I was deaf, but only when I was listening to that scene. And finally, to end off,
Welcome to
we have
Mikazuki Villa.
Nanami. Beautifully, beautifully written. I have to say right now, my favorite part of Magia Record has to be Yachia right now. I just think she's handled phenomenally. I mean, scenes, motivations, like character, like depth here. It's amazing because everything that Nanami has done, I can't even, like, I can't say anything bad. Her monologue actually is really good here, and I want to see how much I can play, like, the audio of it at the very least, because it was very well worded, well articulated. I felt I was sitting there, and like I said, Nanami is a very impressive character in this episode. Her scenes, her writing, her dialogue, right? They have impact here, and I think it's really good.
I would never cry to
Master Yachio!
be honest. I am a man.
The reason I'm still searching for you is so that I'm constantly reminding myself of the reality of your disappearance. Even now, I only continue fighting so that I am forced to face the magnitude of your loss over and over again. I am consumed by the void you left, a complete prisoner to the past.
She's just written perfectly. She always stands her ground as you would expect her to. She's skeptical when you would expect her to. It's like her personality is so well understood by the writers. Her character just really comes alive, really blossoms. Everything she does is perfectly in character, I feel. There's not a single moment where I sit there and I point and I go, why did she do this? Well, that was bad. No. And that's why earlier I wanted to put into question why Nanami seemed so surprised by Kyoko joining, because so far, Nanami's writing track record is flawless. So any emotion that she's going to portray is not going to be lost on me. I'm going to absolutely pick up on that and look into it. And so, with that, yes, I know I didn't cover every character. I'm not going to. with that, we end this track. I gotta say, there were some highs, there were some lows. Felicia was great, Nanami was great, Surino was even pretty good this time. But oh, Kyoko! They better redeem her, bro. I swear to God, if Kyoko never comes back up from that point, from her intro. But here we are, closing out Album 2, Track 7, I Want to Go Home With You. Oh, wait, I just realized. Oh, that's cute. That's so cute. Okay, the episode is called I Want to Go Home With You, and in the end, Felicia goes and lives with Nanami and not Matt. Oh, come on, that's slick. Hey, that's a good way to end off right there. That's a good way to end off. Alright, you know what? I like that. So in conclusion, I'm still waiting. Because truthfully, no one knows our record. Woof! That felt good.